Now at 5, former President Biden diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. What we know, plus.
It completely changed the way that we think of volcanoes and what they are capable of.
As people gather to mark 45 years since the Mount St. Helens eruption, scientists are sharing what we have learned since then. And an Oregon nonprofit is taking the federal government to court over its sweeping funding cuts.
We try to get community members talking about the big questions they're facing together.
Thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Art Edwards. Former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer, his personal office announced today. The cancer has metastasized to the bone, according to the former president's personal office. The Biden family is said to be weighing treatment options at this time. NBC's Yamis Alcindor has more from the White House.
Former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer, his personal office announced on Sunday. The statement saying in part last week, former President Biden was seen for a new finding of prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with a prostate cancer. It also said that the cancer has spread to his bone. In a statement, it also said while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective treatment. Now, a source familiar with President Biden's thinking, as well as the thinking of his family, says that he and his family are meeting with a range of doctors and are considering multiple treatment options, including hormone therapy for the cancer. The person also said he's resting at home right now in Wilmington, Delaware, and it's unclear where he will be treated. We should remind folks, of course, that President Biden is 82 years old. He's the oldest person to have held the presidency, and he is incredibly close with his family and has lived through, sadly, several tragedies, including losing his first wife and daughter in a car accident, and then later his oldest son, Beau Biden, to cancer. He has also had a long career in politics, and tonight prayers and well wishes are pouring in from lawmakers who knew him and know him well. We are also still waiting for a statement from President Trump. So far, the two, of course, have had a contentious relationship, but they've also met right here at the White House at the end of President Biden's presidency. So we expect at some point for President Trump as well as the White House to release a statement. Back to you.
It's been decades since Mount St. Helens' deadly eruption back in the 1980s. Today, on its 45th anniversary, Celine Stevens went to Tooele, Washington to learn more.
It's a cloudy and rainy day here at the Science and Learning Center at Coldwater. Behind me through the clouds is Mount St. Helens, which erupted back on May 18th, 1980. 45 years later, I spoke with people who were out here enjoying what's now a peaceful view, but were able to recount what a historic and catastrophic day that was.
Oh, it was desolate. It was ugly gray desert. It was terrible. It was dead.
If you look out toward Mount St. Helens in recent times, it looks anything but dead.
It's coming back. It's all turning green, and it's amazing what 20 years difference made.
The eruption of Mount St. Helens back in 1980 led to the death of 57 people, making it the deadliest volcanic eruption in U.S. history.
So we are standing in the blast zone right now, and this was completely wiped out. It took out an area of 230 square miles, roughly the area the size of Chicago, in 3 minutes.
It killed thousands of animals and destroyed the environment, with the damage amounting to over $1 billion. It
was one of the most well-documented volcanic eruptions.
Many still remember the day and went up to the Science and Learning Center at Coldwater for the 45th anniversary.
I went to the window and looked out, and I went, holy crap. Not exactly what I said, but big plume, 20,000 feet or so, and by then, I guess.
I actually lived in Longview when it erupted and got lots of pictures over the trees of the big cloud. And so this is just kind of reminiscing for me.
Even those who weren't in the area when the volcano blew also stopped by Sunday, knowing the historical significance of Mount St. Helens.
It's very important to actually know what's going on in your environment around you, especially considering we're in the Pacific Rim of Fire here. There's 5 active volcanoes here in Washington State.
This Science and Learning Center at Coldwater, about 7 miles away from the volcano itself. Anna Coburn, lead park ranger at Mount St. Helens National Volcanic Monument, explains the impact of the volcano's eruption beyond the destruction.
It shaped the way we think of disaster response. around volcanoes and preparedness. It shaped the way we think of ecology and how fast things can come back.
While the 45th anniversary brought less than an ideal view of the mountain, the center still offered learning experiences for visitors, including exhibits, a gift shop, and a film. While it's still active, Coburn says people shouldn't be too alarmed, but still, never forget its power.
It's still a very serious thing. It's still a very frightening thing to have in your backyard, so it's always good to be a little scared of this thing.
Now, May is also Volcano Awareness Month, so if you'd like to come out and enjoy the landscape or just learn more about this volcano, this center is now open on weekends from 10 to 4 and will be open 7 days a week for the summer by mid-June. In Toutle, Celine Stevens, KGW News.
Now over on KGW Plus, you can watch our Vault special, relive the lead-up eruption and the aftermath with rare KGW archive footage. You can find our free streaming app on Roku, Fire TV, and also Apple TV. Well, today was much calmer across our area with some drier conditions, but it's not going to be staying dry for too long. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri has more on what the start of the work week is going to look like. Joe?
Yeah, I wish I could say it's going to be a lovely start to the work week, but it's going to be a lovely end to the work week. But yeah, we are looking at some more showers rolling through late tonight and into tomorrow. So your morning commute tomorrow is going to be pretty wet as this next system moves on shore, and we'll start to see those showers increase right around the early morning hours. I'd say the window where we'll be seeing the heaviest amount of rain tomorrow will be falling basically from about 5, 6 in the morning into about 9 and 10 o'clock. So it's about 3-4 hours there where we'll see a steady stream of rain where we'll be looking at close to 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, we've seen light amounts out there earlier today. In fact, yesterday was a record amount of rain that fell, and we're not going to be looking at record rainfall, but we are going to be seeing a wet start. Here we are tomorrow morning, right around 7:30. You can kind of see those heavier cells moving in along the east side, along 205 there, along the Oregon coast. You're going to be seeing some very wet conditions, but by late morning, early part of the afternoon, it's all over, and we'll see some drier conditions move through. Looking at tomorrow looks like this. By 9 a.m., we're pretty much going to start to see that rain taper off a little bit. By the afternoon, more sunny skies with temperatures right around the mid-60s. And I have a bit of a warm-up that's in store. That's going to come later into the later part of this week. I'll talk more about that in about 15 minutes from now.
All right. Thank you, Joe. A juvenile is dead and an 18-year-old is in jail right now after a rollover crash on Sauvie Island. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office was called after 12:30 this morning to a home off Northwest Gillen Road and Lily Lane. The Sheriff's Office says the crash involved a side-by-side UTV on private property. The juvenile girl was pronounced dead at the scene. The UTV driver, Aiden Hurd, was first checked at the hospital and then booked on manslaughter charges. The investigation is ongoing. And we have an update to a deadly hit-and-run incident late last year in Woodburn. Police today say that they have arrested the suspected driver, 58-year-old Kenneth Kolarski. He works at Silverton Hospital. He had an outstanding warrant for felony hit-and-run after allegedly hitting and killing Nicholas Hernandez Mendoza the day after Christmas. He is now in the Marion County Jail. And now on to Vancouver, where the fire marshal's office is investigating a fire in a 2-story townhouse. Firefighters were called just before 9:15 last night to an apartment complex off East 18th Street. They got the fire under control in about 30 minutes. One person was taken to a local hospital. It is not known the extent of the damage. And back here in Portland, an investigator is looking for whoever apparently exploded a porta potty at Irving Park. It happened about 4 o'clock this morning. Now, the details are limited right now, but Portland Fire and Rescue believes that this was an intentional act of destruction, and anyone with any information is asked to contact them. An Oregon nonprofit is suing the federal government, demanding that it reinstate grant funding. Oregon Humanities and the Federation of State Humanities Councils filed a suit Thursday against DOGE, the National Endowment for the Humanities, also known as NEH. It was Congress that created NEH, which has partnered with state and local humanity councils for decades. Last month, NEH leaders informed state humanities groups by email that it was pulling funding in its efforts to trim the government. Oregon Humanities now seeks an injunction to hold the NEH accountable for its side of their long-standing partnership.
I think the lawsuit is principally about the fact that the executive has overstepped and tried to undo what Congress is obligated to do and has chosen to do for over 50 years.
The nonprofit says the termination of grant funding for state and local humanities councils immediately affected its services. About 45% of its budget was funded by the federal government. Now, earlier this month, it laid off 2 employees and switched everyone else to part-time. It also cut grant and fellowship funds, which it often redistributes to rural areas, especially Eastern Oregon.
So this is a very small amount of funding from the perspective of the federal government, but when you think about Klamath Falls or Burns or LeGrand, $3,000 grant here, $5,000 there, that's what helps knit the community together, and that's what just got pulled.
Davis said the reasons for the funding cuts still haven't been made clear. Oregon Humanities is currently seeking additional emergency funding from the community to continue with its services.